This is one of the most serious initiatives California state has ever advanced in its history. The smash-mouth realities of climate change are self-evident to anyone that lives in California. To deny climate change, visit the state of California. And that's why we're moving forward to require a mandate that 100% of the vehicles in the state of California in 15 years, 100% have to be zero-emission vehicles, and that all the existing internal combustion engines can be sold only on the secondary market, used market. We're not going to take your cars away, but we are going to increase the number of choices by advancing and accelerating innovation in the zero emissions sector. We're done with internal combustion engines. $3.6 million acres have burned to date so far this year. It's unprecedented in California's history. The entire calendar year last year, 277,000 acres burned, 3.6, almost 3.7 million acres burned as I speak to you. 27 major wildfire complexes currently in the state of California, over 1,100 fire starts in the last 6 weeks, after an unprecedented 14,000 lightning strikes over a 72-hour period. The hottest August in recorded history. The hottest temperature ever recorded in world history, 130 degrees in California. This is without precedent in our history. The reality of climate change is here. A 5-year drought we just got out of that left behind 163 dead trees in its wake. All of that requires us to double down on what we're doing to detoxify, to decarbonize our economy. And that's why we're accelerating the most significant initiative the state has ever advanced to accelerate our efforts to decarbonize our transportation sector, which represents over 50% of our greenhouse gas emissions. I think most of the pushback will come from more from the status quo ante of a Trump administration that frankly wants to not only hold the line in innovation, but actually in many respects wants to put us back to 19th century thinking when it comes to climate. I expect a tweet within 24 hours of me signing the executive order. I expect the usual pablum. Somehow we're taking away something from people, or we're denying people choice, when in fact we're accelerating innovation, we're accelerating economic growth, we're creating more manufacturing jobs, we're creating more green collar jobs, we're addressing environmental justice, we're addressing health costs and health risks. So we're not only reducing greenhouse gas emissions, we're reducing healthcare costs. What's remarkable is Bill Ford and Ford, some of the largest manufacturers of automobiles in the world that happen to be American manufacturers, they're already deeply invested in the future and in zero-emission vehicles. This is not a huge stretch for these automobile manufacturers. To me, it's not a sacrifice at all. It's an opportunity to be globally competitive. If American manufacturers do not commit to zero emissions, they're not going to be able to sell their cars globally. They're not going to be able to sell their cars in China, in India, in Israel, in Ireland, that are also committed to similar goals that California is advancing. So this is about strengthening our competitiveness, encouraging more manufacturing jobs. I think the socioeconomic realities are the imperative of doing this. We're seeing price parity come into play. We're within 5 years of seeing price parity on electric vehicles. This is a 15-year goal. By that time, there'll be more choices, more opportunities to advance new technologies, not just electric vehicles, but other zero-emission technologies that will substantially advance poor and underserved communities for one fundamental reason. The cost of maintaining those cars is much lower, and the cost of fueling those cars is much, much lower. You don't have to go to the gas pump. You don't have to deal with the vagaries of our geopolitical realities with foreign governments that manipulate international oil markets. So we're going to reduce the operating costs. We're going to create more choice, lower costs across the spectrum for the actual vehicles, and that's already taking shape. It's one thing to have nice goals, which begin the process of transitioning from internal combustion engines to have 5% of your fleet, 20% of your transportation is no carbon or zero carbon sources, but that's not going to do it. In order to get to where we need to go by 2045, which is zero carbon in California, 2050, to get 80% below 1990 levels globally, we need to accelerate these efforts.